Mayor Braun?
Well, the one day blurs into another. I don't actually even know what day it is sometimes.
I understand. I can feel that. Another storm coming your way. How do you feel? All prepared and doing your best?
Well, we're as ready as we can be. The dikes that broke or breached, we will have those back up to the level that they were before by tonight or tomorrow morning. And we reinforced the other dike. We lost to half the width from Atkinson Road upstream.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are, well, we're ready. We're as ready as we can be. My concern, of course, is that we have three weather storms coming in over the next 8 days,
Mm-hmm.
and the drainage system will be, I think, fine as long as the Nooksack doesn't overflow its banks and shove the water into Sumas, Washington, and then into Abbotsford.
How often does Nooksack rise? Once a year? Once every 5 years? Or is that something
Well, the last
unusual?
big flood that we had was in 1990, so that's 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was a much younger man when I saw that, but it was nowhere near what we had now. This is a 1 in 35-year storm, or sorry, in 1990. I'm told that this storm last week was 1 in 100 years. So it's, anyway, so it's much
It
more
is.
powerful.
Indeed, it
And
is. Now, we have some Canadian Armed Forces personnel, I think 100 boots are on the ground, and they were going to build a levee. How far have they reached?
No, they weren't going to build a levee. They have been. The city was going to build a levee at some point on Highway 1,
Mm-hmm.
but we changed course right at the beginning and decided that we didn't have time. That would go faster, but we didn't have time to do that and repair the dikes. So we spent all of our time repairing the Sumas River dike, and that work will be finished tonight. So, in hindsight, that was the right call to make. The Army has been walking our dikes, which are 17 kilometers, the Sumas River dike, looking for weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
clearing debris and culverts, of which there are many, many hundreds of culverts on Sumas Prairie, to make sure that the water can actually flow through the ditches and through the culverts and back into the floodgates and or the pump station.
Now, my understanding is it's mostly the rural farm area who got affected by the floods, not the city itself.
Yes,
How is
that's
the
true.
situation in the city? All good?
Well, Abbotsford is the largest geographical city in the province
Mm-hmm.
by land size. We're the biggest. Sumas Prairie is only 25% of Abbotsford. So the other three-quarters of the city is fine. Well, that's not totally true. Matsqui Prairie, which is on the other side
Other
of
side.
Sumas Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
it has some flooding in historic Claiborne Village as well. And we've been in there now, and the Army was in there now, sandbagging and doing all sorts of work. I was going to go there today, but then there was a police incident at one of our high schools, and so I didn't want to have a policeman drive me out there because they had their hands full.
Now, this is the one disaster in this century. What are the plans to avoid something like this in future?
Well, we as a city of Abbotsford have been, we've had all sorts of studies and other levels of, or not other levels, but the Fraser River Council Basin.
Mm-hmm.
They have studied this. George Ferguson, when he was the mayor, he made a lot of noise about it. But the last report that the city did was in December of last year, so not even a year ago,
Okay.
and it exactly predicted what has happened. That if we couldn't get help from the federal government and the province, we were going to have a failure of our dikes. The only thing we didn't know is when, and so it's pretty much been occurred more or less in line with our report.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give your audience an idea, the Sumas dike to rebuild it to proper standards, because some of those dikes are 50 and 100 years old.
True.
Just the Sumas River dike is probably a $500,000 bill.
And who's paying for that?
Sorry,
City
not
of
a half a million,
Abbotsford?
a $500 million, 500 million.
Who's paying for it? BC government, federal government, or City of Abbotsford?
City of Abbotsford could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
Our tax requisition, how much money we collect from all property taxes in the city, is $160 million a year. It would take us 3 years to take all of that money and forget about the police, fire, and all the other things that we do. That's just impossible. Everybody agrees that the province and the federal government have to help, and I believe they will. They're debating. I haven't had time to look at the news. I just got home.
Now, City of Surrey sent 10 of their newly hired constables or police officers from City Police Services. Which other city came in your rescue besides Surrey?
Oh, there is so many. I don't even have all that information, but Vancouver Police are here, Vancouver Fire and Rescue are here. There's others from 14 building inspectors from all over Burnaby, Surrey. We will thank all of those people. Task Force 1 from Vancouver, which is a rapid deployment organization that just deals with disasters. I just sent the mayor of Vancouver a nice an email thanking him for their help, because all of the mayors in the Fraser Valley here, or most of them, have reached out to me, said whatever you need, just let us know. We want to come and help. Chilliwack as well. They've helped from the other side of the lake, because there's a lake out there now.
It is, yeah, back to 1920s.
Yeah, well, no, it's not quite to that depth, but had we not fixed that breach in the Sumas River, it's quite an intricate drainage system.
Now, in preparation,
unlike anything in Canada.
In preparation for the upcoming storm, what is the advice to people listening to our program in Abbotsford area?
Well, if they're in the rest of Abbotsford, they are fine. But in the Sumas Prairie, and especially, well, anywhere in the Sumas Prairie, they need to be prepared. Put something together for, clothes, food, water, flashlights for 72 hours. Make sure your vehicle is full of gas and parked in a place that is easily accessible in case the Nooksack River comes over. We will make sure then that people get lots of warning because we are watching their dike or their river as well. And, we would have, I don't know how long, but probably 6 or 7 hours. But people need to be ready, because I'm not worried about the first storm. The second one concerns me a little bit more, but the third one is probably the biggest of the three storms, and that one concerns me the most. But that's still 7 or 8 days out. The forecasts do change.
And are we all fully prepared for that, for the third one, 100%?
Well, the city is as much as it can. Now, what we do not know is if there's enough water that comes back onto the Sumas River, those dikes might be weakened in some place. We don't know that, because a lot of that dike, the toe of the slope, is underwater, so we can't see, and it's muddy water. So you can't, very brown, silty water, so you can't see more than
all the livestock has been cleared out of that area?
No, the livestock... I think there's 20,000 head of dairy cattle, and I don't have exact numbers, but it's not as bad as it was first reported.
And it won't be as bad as it was. It won't be as bad as it happened last time. They are taking precautionary measures.
Well, the farmers, they're also taking. This came so fast in 24. We got almost a month's rain in 24 hours.
True.
And the system will work. The rain that's coming is not a concern. Well, it's always a concern, but our drainage system will take the rain. It would have even taken the rain that we had last week. What we can't handle is the water from another country or another river from another country. It was never designed for that, and so the pressure on the dikes, as a result of the Nooksack, roughly 25% of their water came into Sumas, Washington, flooded that city, and then came across the border, washed out the railway tracks from Southern Rail on a number of places, and then started pouring into the Sumas River and then out to the floodgates. Everything was still working, but the water came in so hard and so fast from the United States, the dike couldn't handle it, so it started running over the dike, like for a kilometer. And if you do that long enough, it's going to break somewhere. And so it broke at the weakest point. And,
are we communicating with the United States? I believe township of Sumas, so this thing doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I had a telephone conversation today with the mayor of Sumas, who is looking for help from me to convince the U.S. government they have to do something about this, and also the executive from the county. I had a conversation with him, and he says he's already discussed with Governor Inslee, who he said was going to call the Premier and the Prime Minister to talk about.
Now, Mr. Braun, it must be a challenging job to look after the city part and the rural agriculture part, because yours is the only diverse city who calls itself city in the country. Matter of fact, it is. It's got both flavors. You got the city and the country on the other side. Infrastructure's been old, but we don't see any infrastructure in the farms. All they got is old ditches, never been maintained. How much contribution?
No, we maintain those ditches.
You maintain them, okay.
We clean them out regularly.
Like mow the grass or just...
we need higher dikes.
Mm-hmm. And are they in works now? You said it's going to cost a few $1 million. Would they be...
Few. $500 billion with a B.
It is expensive.
That's a lot of money, and of course, no city has that kind of money. The dikes in the Fraser Valley all need to. This isn't just peculiar to Abbotsford. Chilliwack has the same issue. Hope, Kent, Agassiz, downstream. If the Fraser River, this is a picnic compared to what would happen if the Fraser dikes broke. There's been economic studies done by the Chambers of Commerce of BC, and I think the Canadian Chamber as well. $30 billion damage if that dike goes.
You think the federal government could have done better, because they promised they're going to fix infrastructure, and most of the focus was on roads, bridges, hospitals, and other things, but nobody ever talked about the dikes. One dike is going to cost us $500 million. How is the federal government reacting to this?
Well, I don't want to get into the province and the federal government have helped us at every turn.
They did, okay.
Whatever I've asked for here in the last 10 days, they have provided, whether it was military or technical advice. They, and with the Ministry of Agriculture, because there's going to be a few hundred cows that have died. There's probably going to be close to, 500,000 or maybe 1 million chickens. There's 2 million chickens in that prairie. There's been, there's some pigs or hogs that have died, so they're disposing of that. But no, I'm very pleased with the response from the province.
There's one issue. There was a listener who called into my program yesterday, and he's a bit concerned. There's a lot of talk about livestock, which is a good thing, because the livestock that has been lost, we're not talking about compensation, but yet there's not much attention being paid to berry farmers. There's a vast, land of blueberry, which got underwater, and it's affecting their soil as well. Oh, totally. Anything in works for them, or is it too early to talk about it?
I had a 3-hour meeting with Minister Lana Popham yesterday in Sumas Prairie, and there was a number of blueberry farmers there. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd forgotten that. But there's about 1,200 acres of blueberry. So that prairie is 22,000 acres. That's as big as the city of Burnaby. You could fit in that Sumas Prairie, just to give people an idea how big this is. And I know from my own experience, when blueberry plants are underwater for 4 days, 5 at the most, those plants are dead. So there's going to be probably close to 1,200 acres of blueberries that will have to be pulled out, new plants put in. But you know as well as I do that a blueberry plant doesn't produce a good crop until the 4th or 5th year.
That's right, yes.
So those farmers have to wait that long. The minister talked to a lot of those farmers, mostly blueberry. There was some dairy there. I didn't think there was any poultry farmers there. But she said that the province is going to, they're here to help. And the province can't do this by themselves either.
That's right. We'll be talking about this compensation at a later date. But I thank you very much for your time, Mayor Braun. In closing, if there's anything you want to let Abbotsford citizens know, residents know.
You keep an eye on the news media, the radio. Keep a watchful eye for the storms that are coming, because in Sumas Prairie, some of them may have to leave again. But I hope not. But I think we're good. We've done everything we can to repair the dikes are repaired, so you don't have to panic, but you need to keep your eyes and ears open and stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Stay
Thank you, sir.
safe, and we'll speak later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.